About 3 months into quarantine, mid-June, my grandfather, he's 86 years old. He is the guy that I've talked about a ton on this podcast. He's been extremely influential in my life. He has built a business and some family wealth by being extremely frugal and working insanely hard. And he taught me how to work hard. He taught me how to live. A great man. But in June, during quarantine, he was locked down. And one day he was in the house, and my parents, my mom and his other daughter were there, and they were trying to socialize with him by sitting kind of outside, and he was sitting inside, and they were talking through the window, and he just got a weird look in his eye, and he got up and he left the house. And they said, "Ralph, stop, what are you doing? You can't go anywhere." And he got in his truck and he drove. It's actually a minivan that he uses for a truck tool route, and he left the house. And they freaked out, and they were crying, and they were calling the other siblings, and it was a big day of family drama where he basically just went out and went on his tool route. He went to his businesses that he usually services. He went to do what he did before COVID hit. And I talked to him about a week later. I called him, maybe it was a few days later, and I said, "Ralph, how you doing? I heard that you went back to work." And I was like, "That's kind of exciting. What made you decide to do that?" And he's like, "Yeah, Nick, I got to tell you something." He said, "Everybody was really upset at me, and I maybe regret the way that I handled it because I hurt some feelings. But you know what? I've been sitting in this house for 3 months, and I'm 85 years old. And I did some math." He said, "I got 3 good years left if I'm lucky. And I know that if I stop moving, I maybe have 1 or 2. And he said, "So I did some math. 3 good years left. Every month is 2% of the rest of my life. So I decided that it's worth the risk. And I'm, by God, going to be able to go out and see the people that are important to me and do the things that are important to me. Because if I can't do that, I might as well not live." And it was an insane statement about him just having an epiphany of what risks are willing to take, what risks he's willing to take, and what risks are worth taking. And I just couldn't help but think about his life and what he did in his entire life. He didn't take any risks. He saved every dollar. He was very, very careful about the investments that he made. He was in a union for 30 years and retired with a union pension. And then he sold tools and worked 3 jobs until very recently. And he got ahead that way. And he, at 85 years old, is worth a couple $1 million and has a great family, and he's set many of them up for success. And by all means, he has had a very successful life. But I think another part of the story is in April, my grandmother passed away, his wife passed away, and we buried her on a Zoom call. And he couldn't hug anybody. He had to wear a mask, and he couldn't see anybody, and it was just a really hard deal for him, and he'd had enough. And he realized that the risk to live is worth taking for him. And it kind of reminded me about business and the risks that I'm taking in business and the reward on the other side, and how, yes, by starting a new business, you are risking your time, you're risking your money, you're risking the certainty of a job. But you, as a human being, have to decide what risks are worth taking. So I just thought that was an interesting story, and there's so much more to that I've been thinking about and journaling on, and kind of applying those same concepts to my life, and how I'm going to, over time, build a life worth living by taking the risks that matter to me to do the things that are important to me. I love riding my bicycle. I ride it on the road. My mother-in-law calls me once a month and says, "Hey, I read an article about somebody getting ran over by a car on their bicycle and dying and this and that. And I've had friends that have passed away on bicycles. But at some point, you have to take a calculated risk in life. At some point, you have to do what makes you happy, even though there is a risk that things could go terribly wrong. Same with business, right? We're buying storage facilities and we're personally guaranteeing them, and we're investing hundreds of thousands of our own dollars, and we're taking a big risk that the business is going to work, that everything's going to work out. But the upside on the other end, and what it can do for me and my family and my business and my career and all the people that work with me is very powerful. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. Just do a little bit of thinking on that, and if it clicks with you, then hopefully you got something out of it.